Today, it's the day. You need to file your taxes by 11/59 or you're going to face a penalty from the IRS. As of April the 5th, the IRS had received about 100 million returns. The agency expects nearly 129 million individual tax returns to be filed by tonight's deadline. The IRS says the majority of people who qualify for refunds will be seeing them within 21 days, and that average refund amount, $3,200.
2 out of every 3 taxpayers that files with us is owed a refund. And people want their refunds quickly, as they should. And we want to get people's money in their pocket.
If you owe the IRS but you just can't pay by today, well, the agency says, you know what, you can set up an installment plan on the website. The IRS estimates that 19 million people will be filing for an automatic extension. And people who file for extensions get until October 15th to file the actual documents. But even if you get an extension, you cannot delay paying the IRS. Those payments are still, in fact, due today. If you need to file an extension, you can go to irs.gov and fill out those appropriate forms. So what happens if you just don't file and you don't pay your taxes on time? Well, the IRS penalizes taxpayers for both filing late and paying late. We verify how you can avoid or reduce those late penalties and interest.
The deadline to file your taxes is April 15th, and some of our viewers wondered what would happen if they didn't file their taxes or filed them late. So let's verify. Is there a penalty for not filing your taxes on time? Our sources are the IRS, H&R Block, and TurboTax. The answer depends on whether you owe the IRS money. If you owe any taxes and fail to pay that money on time, the IRS will begin to charge you penalties. Every month, those penalties continue to rack up, and you're also charged interest on top. Then, if you not only fail to pay on time, but also fail to file your return on time, they charge an additional penalty, which also grows over time and also accumulates interest. And if you owe state taxes, your state might charge you similar penalties as well. So yes, there are penalties for not filing your taxes on time. But what if you don't owe money to the IRS? What if you're due a refund? In that case, there is no penalty for not filing, at least not from the IRS. But if you don't file, you can't get that refund, so it's sort of a self-imposed penalty. With your Verify, I'm Casey Decker.
So there is a difference between failure to file and failure to pay. Both carry a penalty. Failure to file tax on 5% of your unpaid taxes every single month. You could be looking at hundreds or even thousands of dollars added onto what you already owe. Failing to file is a much less serious penalty than not paying at all. A failure to pay penalty is lower at just 0.5%. Consequences, though, of ignoring your tax bill, well, they get more severe over time. It could lead to the federal government garnishing your wages or even freezing your bank account. However, there, of course, no penalty for filing late if you're owed that refund, as you just heard. We have 3 years to file before losing out on money. That means if you didn't file your 2020 taxes, time is, in fact, running out. You have until May 17th to submit tax returns for that year. And get this, there is $1 billion up for grabs across the U.S. In fact, 27,000 North Carolinians are due money from 2020.
They didn't file, they forgot, COVID happened. If they go ahead and file, at least they're complying with the IRS and the state. So if they go ahead and do that and they're expected a refund, well, great, it's time for them to still claim that refund.
The IRS has a state-by-state estimate for folks who are due a refund from their 2020 tax returns. In North Carolina, that average refund is about $895. A total of $29 million in refunds is due to our state alone. You know, although it's been a few years since 2020, there are still ways to get the information needed to file that tax return. You can request key documents from your employer, bank, or other payers. If you can't get those, or you need to order a free wage and income transcript from the IRS, you can do that. Another option is to request a wage and income this data shows from information returns received by the IRS. Now, while the time is running out to file your taxes, tax scams are just getting started. The IRS is out with the most common tax scams that you can expect. Phishing and smishing, they are at the very top. That's when scammers will email you or text you trying to get your information. Just keep in mind, the IRS is never going to threaten you with immediate legal action. They're never going to promise you a refund or send you an email or text that demands that you pay right away. Scammers are just preying on your fear and your greed.
Fear, we're freezing your account. Greed, you've got a tax refund. You get something like that, especially if it's time sensitive, then you just run the other way.
The IRS is urging folks to avoid clicking any links in any unsolicited email or text. When you want to verify if something is true about your tax return or your refund, you go to the source, irs.gov. After you register as a verified user, you can check on your status. All right, so you filed your taxes, you have your refund. What should you do with that money? Well, money expert Janae Adams recommends holding on to that refund check.
Whatever money you're getting, and start to build up what I call in case you're breathing fund or your mercy fund of at least $1,500. If you can't do $1,500, do $500. Whatever that tax refund is, use it to build up your financial future, not to buy more things.
Other options for that refund, of course, include money, including contributing to your IRA, paying off debt, or contributing to a savings account. Of course, if you missed any of this information, you can find it on our website, WFMYnews2.com.